Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon, we come to you live via Facebook, via YouTube, via Instagram, and most importantly, via our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, your one-stop shop for everything you need to be successful in real estate. So make sure you check that out at tampaschool.com/success. Today, we're talking about a bunch of different things. One of the questions we get asked so often is, how much money can I make in real estate? How much do I have to work in real estate? Can I work full-time? Can I work part-time? And real estate makes all of those things possible. It makes it possible to work 100 hours a week if you want, or if you only want to work 5 hours a week. It's really flexible in that respect. It's also very flexible in the amount of money it is that you make, but that's something you definitely have a little bit well, actually, you do have a lot of control over it. I don't want to say you don't have control over it, but it's something that's more of a product of your efforts rather than just saying, oh, I want to make money today, and it just happens. It could actually get to that point when you know what you're doing, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about structuring a business plan that's going to tell you how much you have to work and how much money you're able to make in the current year that you're in your first year. Maybe you're a 10-year veteran of real estate and you're just trying to find out, how much money can I make next year? We've got the end of the year coming up. We've got a new January coming up, New Year's resolutions and all that stuff. And you might be saying, all right, how do we take it to the next level? So we've got a great show for you today. Stick with us. I'm John Christmer. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Christmo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you live to talk about the technical side of the real estate industry, the more nitty-gritty details. It's one of our two shows that we offer to our past, current, and future students of the Tampa School of Real Estate. On Fridays, we do State of Real Estate, the mastermind to take your real estate business to the next level. And on Wednesdays, we're talking about the technical stuff. It's Ask the Instructor every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram, our Success Center, one of these places, make sure you do that. Subscribe to all of them so you don't miss any of these episodes. Lots of great information that we're going to be going over today. Hey, Logan, can you grab my red marker over there on that other board? So what we're covering today is the business plan. Thank you. So with the business plan now, I went to USF and I got a degree in business, and I think I took a whole class on, or at least a large portion of one of the classes, about creating a business plan. And I'm not the type of person, nor do I recommend anyone go out there and research these business plans and, spend hours on end trying to come up with this. The business plan should not be something you do once. It's something that you review daily. Number one, that you review daily, and number two, you update weekly. Because a lot of times what happens, whether you're some sort of startup business or maybe you're new to real estate, or what happens typically whenever someone's doing a business plan, I don't even like using that term business plan because it's a very particular thing most people have in their minds when they think about a business plan. And the thing that is the normal status quo business plan is basically a giant waste of time. But this is really the best way to call what it is that we're doing here. And so with this business plan, it's not something that you're just going to do once when you're brand new to real estate. And that's why, like I said, we could have people that have been in real estate for 10 years and you're still going to get value out of today's show, because it's really going to show you how to quantify and break down your daily activities that you need to do and really get a better understanding of how much money you could make or could be making in real estate. But the thing is, you don't want to just do this once. You've heard this a lot probably with people talking about goals, where they say, oh, you got to review your goals daily. You've got to write your goals daily. You have to affirm your goals daily. The business plan is really just a detailed version of your goals. It's a detailed version of your goals, not just what the goal is, because it's all well and good to understand what that finish line is, what that end goal is, but now you have to understand the steps, the small baby steps it takes to get to that ultimate end goal, to that ultimate finish line, whatever it is that you're trying to go to, whatever destination your life takes you that you're trying to get to. It's not enough to just establish that goal once. If there's anything you take away from today, it's that reviewing your goals and reviewing the steps it takes to achieve your goals cannot be done just once. You need to review it at least once a day, at least daily. Really, you should be looking at this first thing in the morning, and first thing before you go to bed as well. Maybe midway through the day to get your business up, to get it, if you're kind of in a slump or something like that, then you want to review that multiple times a day. But at the very least, you want to review this daily. And now I've got update weekly here. And that's, again, another minimum with this. Once you see what it is that we're doing and how we're structuring this business plan, you're going to see that the characteristics, the steps it is that you're taking and how much you need to do of certain actions, that might change. So you need to monitor your business, and you need to monitor basically what's working, what's not working, and update your business plan weekly, and then just stick with it and use that updated version and use that for a week and review that daily again multiple times a day. And then next week you tweak it a little bit again. I'm not talking about major changes. I'm not talking about completely changing your strategy from one strategy to another, but let's say you're following up with past clients. Maybe that's part of your business plan. Maybe you're following up with past clients. And what you're finding is that it's taking more follow-ups than you initially planned. And that's the problem when most people do a business plan just once. Most people, when they're starting a business or starting something new, they'll plan out something once at the beginning and then they'll go try to do it and they don't even look at their plan again. They say, okay, I did the plan, I've got my startup capital. That's really the only reason most people ever write a business plan. They're writing a business plan to try to impress somebody, and that's what they teach you in schools. I know, because that's the way I was taught about the business plan. You're making this business plan to impress people, to get them to invest in you. And look, in real estate, you don't need people to invest in you. You need to invest in yourself. You invest in yourself, and the way you're doing that is by constantly reviewing this plan every day. Look, if you need to get outside money for whatever reason, and that's why you need the business plan, then yeah, make your fancy business plan that looks like you know what you're doing, that shows that you know what you're doing, and that really impresses the others. But for your personal business plan that you're reviewing every day, that needs to be simple. It needs to be to the point. It needs to be something that's easy to remember, but not just easy to remember, easy to pull out and spend 2 minutes reviewing it and saying, okay, cool, that's what we've got to do today. I got to make sure I do X amount of this activity, and then if I'm able to do that, that's going to move me towards this end goal it is that I have. But again, most people, they make this business plan once to impress the people. They get their funding, they get their investments, and they throw that business plan into the wind. They're never looking at it again. They're never utilizing that again. Where the business plan, when executed correctly, is really going to be your GPS system. This is really the equivalent of you driving somewhere that you don't know where to go. You have no idea where it is that you're going. You put your address in the GPS, you look at the route once, and then you toss your phone in the back of the car. That's what people are doing when they write a business plan once and they're going off into their business not looking at a business plan again. You know, it's good that you looked at that map originally, but 5 minutes into your drive, you're probably saying, oh, what was that exit I had to take again? Which street is it that I turn again? And when you're just casting, and again, when the business plan is just meant to impress others and it doesn't relate directly to you and what it is that you need to do, then yeah, you don't need to look at it again. But when it's giving you instructions of do this, do that, do this, you need to do this many times. And then, like I said, you're going to have to course correct along the way with this here. You review it daily and you update it weekly, because you're going to find out going through here that, oh, I need to follow up with these people 10 times instead of 7 times before I'm able to get an appointment. And that's what you're doing when you're updating this weekly. You're saying, okay, initially you're planning out that maybe you have to contact them 7 times, but what you're finding out through your course of business and your week-to-week business, your day-to-day, week-to-week, whatever it is you're finding that, okay, it's not just taking 7 times, and this is why it's important to track everything it is that you're doing. It doesn't take 7 times to turn this lead into an appointment. It takes 10 times. That's what's tending. This one took 9 times, this one took 11 times, this one took 12 times, this one took 8 times. So now it looks like our average number of times it takes to get an appointment is 10 times. Or maybe we're going to put 8 to 12 times or whatever that may be. Again, this is meant for you. It's not meant to impress anyone. This is meant to be your kind of guidebook that you're putting down. And a lot of agents, what they'll do is they'll say, oh, I don't need to put that on paper. I've got that all up here. I know I need to follow up with people. Well, do you know that? Do you really believe that? Because until you do, and until you could recite every last line of your business plan, and even when you can, you need to review it daily and update it at least weekly to stay on track of things. But now, what do you find in this business plan? What type of information is actually in there? How do you start building this out, especially if you're brand new to real estate, or maybe you're not brand new to real estate, but you have no idea what to do with the business plan? Because when most people start a real estate career, it's the first thing they're telling you usually isn't, hey, write a business plan. They might be saying, hey, write goals. And again, writing goals down is great, but you have to really get also on the paper of what those steps that you have to take to achieve those goals. So that's what we're going to be talking about next on the business plan. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be back in less than 2 minutes. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor, not State of Real Estate. I don't know if I told you guys that before we went on the break. State of Real Estate is Fridays at 12 noon Eastern Time. Sometimes I forget what day it is because I work every day. But anyways, so every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we do Ask the Instructor to go over the more technical side of the real estate industry. These nitty-gritty things it is that you need to understand. Real estate, it's all about the knowledge that you possess. And this is literally, the more you learn, the more you can earn, and the easier it will be to earn. But it's important that you're learning the right information. And this business plan, this is like your map. This is like your GPS. This is like your compass that's constantly kind of telling you, okay, this is what you need to be doing today to get this particular goal. So the whole point that we're writing the business plan, the whole point that we're in business in real estate is to achieve some sort of goal. And even if you don't think you have a goal because otherwise you wouldn't have went out and got a real estate license. There's some reason that you went and took the course, paid for the license application, paid for the exam, and studied to pass the exam. There's a reason. There's got to be a reason why you did all this stuff, even if you don't know it. And that simple reason might just be to make money. You might have some other reasons and motivations as to why. Maybe it's something more realistic, that you want to have a better life for your family. You want to be able to have a car that doesn't break down all the time. You want to be able to put your kids through school. You want to be able to take a nicer vacation. Well, what's the least common denominator with all these things? Money. It's not the most important thing in the world, but it makes the most important things, whether that's your family, your friends, your lifestyle, or whatever that may be, it makes it possible to make all of that better. So yes, money isn't the most important thing in the world, but it applies to everything that's important. Money will always help any situation, almost any situation. Really, money usually makes things better, makes things easier. Anything it is, maybe you have some sort of unexpected health issue that crops up, and that ends up costing you tens of thousands of dollars. That's a lot less stressful when you have money. There's actually a study that I forget what it was actually called, but it's something I saw recently, but basically saying that the more income it is that you have, and it tops off, the numbers kind of get skewed after a certain point, but the more money it is that you have, the longer it is that you live. The life expectancy of somebody with a higher income is longer than somebody with a lower income. So what's that least common denominator to almost any goal, and especially the reason why it is that you're working? Let's say you're just doing real estate to help out friends and family. Well, look, it's going to cost you money. You're going to have costs and expenses. Even if you want to help a friend or a family member out, you shouldn't be doing it for free. You should at least be doing it for covering your cost, which means you're still charging some sort of dollar amount for that. So ultimately, there's some sort of income goal. That's the what I'm trying to make the point here, is that there's always an income goal at the root of any business plan. And now this is where you got to do your soul searching, and you're kind of thinking to see, okay, well, how much income is it that I need? Because if you just throw out some arbitrary number of $100,000 and you say, well, I just want to make $100,000 because that sounds like a good amount of money. That sounds like a lot of money. Or I want to make $1 million because that sounds like a lot of money. That's not motivation enough for you. And that's really important for this first step of defining this income goal, because these next steps it is that we talk about, going down and breaking this down into the smaller baby steps it is you have to take to achieve that income goal, the actions you need to take to achieve the income goal, it's going to take motivation. I tell students this in the weekend review classes I've taught, in the pre-licensing courses that I've taught, to remember the reason why, not just the money, but what you're doing with that money. And what that reason why is, that you're getting this real estate license, that you're practicing real estate. Now that's where you think about, okay, I want to do this for my family. I want to be able to take a nicer vacation. I want to be able to do this, that, the other. I want to help out. I want to do good in the world. Whatever the reason is that money is there to do, that's where you think about this, and that's where you want the motivation. So it's important to understand what the motivations are, and you use that to define your income goal. You've got to cover your basic cost of living. So that's already your base amount. Okay, it's going to cost me this much to live. And this is just at your current rate. So we're starting off just building off of, okay, right now, how much does it cost me to live? Okay, it costs me $40,000 a year to live, to be able to eat and maybe pay rent or pay a mortgage payment or whatever that may be for those basic expenses that you already have. So that's number one. Then number two, okay, what are my business expenses that I have? And now this may change based on what our actions are going to be and what our further revolves with our business plan. If we're taking on advertising as a method to generate this income, that's going to be an extra cost that has to be covered as well. But we need to start off with just this income that, okay, at the end of the day, this is how much money we want to be able to walk away with. So we've got to cover our cost, our business cost, and then also, okay, how much money do we need for those things that are motivating us, for the things that are making us want to do these real estate activities, whether it's being able to get a larger house or one of those high-rise condos or whatever that may be. Now you're doing the math on those types of things. And now, don't get crazy. This is not the stuff you need to be reviewing every week. This is something that's good to do at first, so you got your eye on the prize and you know what it is that you need, what you're heading towards and what it is that you want to achieve. This is maybe something you update, especially if it's, okay, I want to live in this condo, I want to drive this car, I want to do this or that. That's stuff you don't need to really think about or to change or update more than once a year. Maybe a little bit more often if you're like, oh no, I don't want the condo anymore, so let's figure out what this is for a house. But this is a big problem I see with a lot of people when they're establishing these goals, is they get too caught up and they get too hung up on picking out their dream house. Don't worry about picking out your dream house. First, worry about being able to afford the dream house. Now you worry about, okay, picking out the paint colors, picking out the flooring. It does not need to be that vivid. It does not have to be that real for it to create a motivation and a why inside of you. If you just say, okay, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, 10-bedroom house. That's all you need to do. 10-bedroom house, 5,000 square feet house on the water. High-rise condo on the water. That's it. Fancy sports car. Get a basic price for that. It does not have to be exact. If you're worrying about the pennies, if you're worrying about getting $101,512.50, if that's your goal, then you should just shoot for $110,000, $120,000, round it up, because you're probably going to fall short with all this. So, again, don't get hung up on the details. I see this happen all so often. I've even been guilty of this. When I first started kind of like taking on this maybe 10, 15 years ago when I started, doing this whole kind of planning and whatnot, I was there, okay, I want to get a yacht. And I was like spending hours on end researching yachts and figuring out exactly what type of yacht I could get. And I had no money to get a yacht. So don't get hung up on the small details of this. Say, okay, I want a boat that's probably going to cost me like $500,000. And leave it at that. You don't need to get into the details. Worry about the details when you've got the money to afford the yacht, to afford the jet, to afford the house, to afford the helicopter, to afford the sports car, whatever it is that you want. Worry about how much those are going to cost exactly when you're close to the amount of money it is that you need to afford those items. But other than that, again, just get an idea. So you use all of that to formulate this income goal. Okay, I want to achieve this amount of income within 1 year. And now once we've got that dollar amount of income, now we could go ahead and start reverse engineering things. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll give you guys the link at the end of the show for this, so stick around to the end so you can get this link. For our business plan calculator on our Success Center website. You guys might have already seen this before on our Success Center website, but this is geared specifically towards real estate sales. And what it allows you to do is basically you punch in your income goal that you want to have X amount of dollars worth of income, and it basically tells you how many transactions it is that you need to do. So we've got this little calculator, and what we're doing we've got our income goal established. And let's say that our income goal is, let's pick $150,000. Let's say that we're like, okay, about $123,000 is what we figured out from all of our expenses, but now let's round it up. It's okay to have a number like $150,000, even though that sounds like a just made up number. When you say $150,000, $123,512 doesn't sound made up. But we want to go ahead and overshoot that a little bit. So that way, in case we fall short at all, we're still going to be hitting our goal. So let's say about $150,000, we'll use that number for this example here, is the income goal. Okay, we want an income of $150,000 in 1 year. Now, how do we make income? How do we make money in real estate sales? We sell houses. We assist sellers or we assist buyers, and we get paid a commission. And now this is where this business plan calculator is going to be really helpful, because you could do some of this math on your own and work these numbers on your own on a calculator, on a scratch pad. But number one, you're likely to make some sort of error in your computations. Even it doesn't matter how good you are at math. I make basic computational errors as well. Even if I'm using a calculator, you'll hit a number wrong or something like that. So that's where this calculator is nice. And then what's also nice about this is it makes sure that you don't leave stones unturned for figuring out, okay, what you need to do to figure out how much income, what actions you have to take, how many of the actions you have to take to achieve that income goal. So, okay, we need to sell houses. Now, how much commission money is $150,000? Meaning how much, this calculator here. So how much commission money? Well, first what we have to do is understand, okay, what is the typical commission rate? This number might be more, it might be less, and that's the importance of updating this weekly. That's why it's important to update this weekly, because if you start dealing more with homes that are maybe 2% or 2.5% as opposed to the 3% you originally put in your plan, you need to update that, tweak the numbers, and then realize how much extra work it is you have to do now to make up for that drop in the commission percentage. So that's why you need to update this weekly. Okay, so let's say we've got $150,000 that we want to make as an income goal. What you're going to do is divide this by 3%. So if you divide by 3% or whatever the commission rate may be in your area, maybe you're in an area or you're working with a particular type of property, maybe you're more in commercial sales as opposed to residential sales, and typically there's a lower commission rate. Yes, higher price deals, but usually lower commission rates than what you'd have with residential. But let's just pick 3% in here, and that's why it's important for you guys to work these numbers on your own and change it based off of what your business does, so that way you stay on track and you have appropriate and correct steps that lead you to that $150,000 goal. So for $150,000 in commission at 3% commission, you need to sell $5 million. So if you sell $5 million worth of property at 3% commission, you'll get $150,000 in income. And we could go ahead and fact check that math. 5 million times 3% will give you $150,000. So now the picture's starting to get a little bit clearer for us here. We went from this arbitrary number of, okay, we want to make $150,000. And maybe we originally said, oh, I want to make $100,000 because that sounds like a lot of money and that sounds like it could change my life. But then we did the math and said, okay, well, we're really going to need $135,000. So let's round that up to $150,000. So we have an accurate number, a clear number where we have motivations behind that number. And now we put in our commission rate that is typical for the area. This doesn't have to be the same for every transaction, but when you have a lower commission rate, that's where you've got to recalculate some of these numbers, and that's going to bump up your total sales amount if you're getting a lower commission rate. Let's say if this was at 2%. At 2%, $150,000 at 2% commission. So $150,000 divided by 0.02. That would mean $7.5 million in sales. So that difference in 1% commission means that you'd have an additional $2.5 million worth of property to sell to still get that $150,000 goal. So it's important to do this, again, based on what's going on in your market, what the going rate is in your market, what is typical. Again, they're not always going to be exactly that amount, but you know, what's the average number? Maybe the average is really 2.75 because you know there's a lot of 3s, but also there's a bunch of 2.5s and maybe some either end of that, so maybe you pick 2.75. Again, you just plug in the numbers based on what's going on in your business, going on in your market to get that idea of, okay, we need to sell $5 million worth of property. This is usually where most agents stop because this is an easy calculation to do. You can say, okay, I want to make $100,000, 3%, I need to have this many sales. And like, okay, well, let's go get that many sales. And that's where the business plan stops. And yes, this is a good number to figure out, and this is a good thing. This is a starting point, really, knowing how many homes you have to sell to achieve your income goal. But now we need to really break that down to the specific actions. Again, you don't want to just look at the map on your GPS and toss your phone in the back and say, I got this. I don't need the GPS telling me exactly where to turn. I could figure it out. I just know we've got to go north, and eventually I'm going to get to that location that I've got defined. No, you need the individual steps it is that you need to take, and then how many of these actions it is you need to take to get to that exact number of $5 million in sales. So we're going to be breaking this down even further to the additional activities it is that you have to do, kind of reverse engineering the sales process. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, so stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. 12 noon every Wednesday. We come to you live to talk about the technical side of the real estate industry, to help you understand, to help our past, current, and future students better understand these technical aspects of the real estate industry. Because again, real estate, it's a knowledge-based industry. That's our product as a real estate professional, more of a service, but really product, service, whatever way you want to look at it. The reason why people are willing to pay 6, 7, 8% of the sale price of their property as a commission is because they don't know what they're doing. They need your help and your expertise in all of this. But you also need to have expertise in running your business. Not just in how to transfer property and how to market property, but also in running your business. You could be the best agent in the world at marketing property, the best agent in the world at transferring property and understanding that transfer process. But if you don't know how to effectively run your business, to manage yourself, a lot of people, real estate is appealing to them because you're able to be your own boss. But some people, they're not cut out to be their own boss. They're too easy on themselves. You got to love yourself, blah, 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 all that stuff. But, sometimes you got to tell yourself, hey, look, you need to do these things. If you don't do these things, you're not going to be able to achieve the income goal, which means you're not able to take your family on that nicer vacation. You're not able to handle unexpected medical expenses. You're not able to put your kids through school. You're not able to do these things if you don't do this. So again, that motivation and that why factor, that's what you want to remember when you start getting discouraged about these things. But first thing, and the way to make this easier, whether you're managing others or you're managing yourself, is being clear and concise about what needs to be done and what actions need to be taken. When everyone knows, and if you're in real estate and you're just working as an individual real estate agent, not on a team or anything like that, you need to know every detail of, okay, I've got to do this many deals to get this many sales. And that's really the next step it is that we're going to be breaking this down into. Okay, I want to achieve $150,000 in income at 3% commission because that's what's typical for the transactions that I'm dealing with. Again, you just insert with whatever it is that you're dealing with in there. Maybe it's 4%, maybe it's 2%, maybe it's 1%. Again, it depends on what type of real estate it is that you're dealing in, where your market is located, so that number may change. And now you're able to find out, okay, this is how much property value I have to sell. But now we're not to the actual number yet. In addition to that, we also have to factor in if we've got some sort of brokerage split. So if there's some sort of brokerage split as well, let's say that our broker keeps 10%. And again, you have to plug in your numbers based on your situation, but let's say you've got an agreement with your broker where they take 10% of your commissions. So what we go further on this, because this 3% for $5 million is just going to get $150,000. But if your broker takes 10% of that, that's $15,000 to 8 away on this here. So what we have to do further is take that $5 million and now divide it by 90%. And again, this calculator that I'm going to give you the link for at the end of the show will actually walk you through step by step. You just plug in these numbers in this calculator. It's not a calculator like this. It's a little like form thing. You plug in the numbers and it cranks out, okay, you need to do this many activities. So really, it's $5,555,050 in sales. So it's not just $5 million. And again, that's where you have to understand this full picture of this year. You have to understand the full picture. And just that one little detail, which you should account, you should definitely still be able to understand that you have to account for that. Looks like a bunch of S's here. Not the best handwriter, but you need to be able to account for all these extra factors in here. So we accounted for, okay, that's the total sales if we are getting 100% of our commission, but if we're getting a split with our broker where the broker keeps 10%, maybe the broker keeps more for that. You've got to do the calculations based on that. Okay, now we really need about a little over $5.5 million, about $5.6 million in total sales. And now we need to break this down. Okay, what's the average price of the home in neighborhoods? So if we've got an average home price, let's say $300,000, that's a good average number. There are a lot of sales going on properties around $300,000. It doesn't apply to the entire market. There's some people that don't want a home that cheap, and there's other people that can't afford a home that expensive at $300,000. But $300,000, that's a good average number. And the numbers that I'm throwing at you here, you could use these if you have no idea what you're doing and you're just trying to grasp some of this stuff. But the key thing is, this isn't just something you're doing once. You're repeating this over and over. You're reworking these numbers. Not reworking what your income goal is. That you only need to do maybe once a year, maybe once a quarter, once every 3 months at the most. But you don't need to keep going and reconfiguring and recalculating how much money you need to make. You need to recalculate what it takes to make that amount of money, that goal it is that you've set. So let's say the average home price is $300,000. So now how many homes is it that we need to sell? So we're going to divide that out by $300,000. And we need to sell about 18.5 homes. So we'll just round it up to 19 homes. No dollar sign needed there. So we need to sell 19 homes in this case. In 1 year, we sell 19 homes in 1 year at 3% commission, where the broker keeps 10% of our commission. And then we'll end up at the end of the day with $150,000. But now that's assuming that we don't have any additional expenses and all kinds of anything like that. And it's always good to maybe overshoot this a little bit. So maybe we want to say 20 homes. And what's the worst thing could happen if you actually sell 20 homes? You end up with another commission, another $9,000 commission or whatever that is after the split. So it's okay to kind of tack on a little bit extra here for all of this as well. And this is, again, where that calculator on our Success Center is helpful. I'll give you guys the link for that, where you can plug in these numbers here and rework this and just bookmark this page. We're not planning on taking this page down anytime soon until the calculator gets overloaded, which is, we could handle, I think, quite a few people on that calculator at once. But I'll give you guys a link for that, where you can plug in these numbers and really work it to get an understanding and really create a business plan for your particular business. So we need 19 homes we need to sell, or really 19 closings we need to occur. And what leads up now? Because again, we're not at the end yet. We're not at the end. We need to understand the small steps. Selling a home, that's a big step. You just don't go out and say, I think I'm going to sell a home today, and go and close on a home all in one day, show a home, close a home all in one day, and that's it, and you get paid that day. No. There's a lot of smaller steps that lead up to that actual transaction going through. And that's where it's important to understand these small steps and how many of the small steps. Because the further it is we break this down, maybe you're thinking, okay, I want to make $150,000, but you had no idea how many homes it is that you need to sell. That's a good place to start. But now, how many appointments do you have to have? How many contracts do you have to have? How many leads do you have to get to that? And these are the numbers that are important. They're really the numbers that you need to be reviewing daily. There's not going to be large changes up here. Really, that income goal shouldn't change. You might want to change that once a year, maybe twice a year, maybe 4 times a year, something like that, as maybe you're making more money and your ambitions change, or maybe you find out $150,000 wasn't enough and you're like, okay, really, I need $200,000, so maybe you need to adjust that a little bit. But again, don't spend too much time up here. You've got to spend time on these little tasks. And that's not just true for writing the business plan, but also what you need to be doing in your day-to-day activities. To get 19 contracts to close within the course of a year, the actual contract to close process, that's where we're still involved, but we're kind of more now overseeing everything going on. We're the executive in this whole matter. We're the one helping kind of connect these pieces together and picking up the deal a little bit if it falls apart. But once we get under contract, that's where the least amount of work is involved on our part. The most amount of work is getting these leads initially and converting the leads into clients and taking those clients out on appointments and getting those clients under contract. That's where the time-consuming part is going to be for you as a real estate professional. And that's where it takes the most amount of time, and that's where we get the furthest boiled down out of these numbers here. So let's say for this $150,000 goal, we need to get 18 closings. Or 19 closings, we said. We'll round it up to 20 closings. So we need 20 closings to meet our goal, to surpass our goal, really. We're being conservative with this here. So if we need 20 closings, well, now we're reverse engineering this process. And you've got to ask yourself, what comes immediately before the closing? Well, in order to have a closing, in order to have a transaction close, what do you have to do? You have to get a property under contract. So that's what goes before this. This is what precedes the closings. What precedes the closings, in order to get to the closings, or really we should draw this arrow the other way, in order to get to the closings, you need to have contracts. In order to get to a closing, you have to have a contract. But now the question is, okay, well, how many contracts do I need to have to get 20 closings? The simple answer, the uneducated answer, the naive answer would be, I need 20 contracts to get 20 closings. I hope that your business, if you have 20 contracts, you get 20 closings. That's the ideal. That would be perfect. But again, we don't live in a perfect world. Not every single contract will close. And now, depending on how many contracts actually end up closing, again, this is a little bit more reflective on your business. Maybe the type of clients it is that you're dealing with, the type of real estate it is that you're dealing with. A lot of that may change how many contracts you go to close. But let's say it's about 80%. So let's say 80% of your contracts result in a closing, which that's a pretty good number. It's not 100%. So that means out of these 18 closings here, or out of 20 closings, if we said we needed 20 contracts, if we only got 20 contracts and only 80% of them closed, we'd really only end up with 16 closings, and we'd fall short of our $150,000 goal. So we're going to reverse engineer this, and what we're doing is taking 20 divided by 80%. So 20 closings divided by 0.8 gives us 25. So really we need 25 contracts. 25 contracts will yield 20 closings. Because 80%, again, we're factoring off of that 80% number. And these are the numbers you need to watch. You need to watch, okay, how many of my contracts are actually closing? And that's what you're doing when you're updating your business plan weekly, is you're saying, okay, well, based on the last couple of transactions I've had, I've only had about 70% of the contracts close. Or maybe you've had 90% of them close. Again, you've got to keep tabs and keep a pulse on what's going on with your business. Okay, we had this many contracts, we had this many closings, let's do the math. Okay, whoa, that's 75%. So we need to bump this down and now reconfigure what these steps are. But now going further, what do we have to get a contract? Because again, you don't just wake up, just like you just don't wake up and say, I'm going to close on a house today. You don't just wake up and say, I'm going to get a contract today. Well, with who? With what property? And really it's with that what property that we need to ask that question now. How many appointments, how many showings, and this is where you may branch off into different stems. And you want to get particular with these last bottom steps here. The overall stuff, the 20 closings and things like that, this is what happens at the end. You don't need to be as particular. Just like you don't need to think about, okay, it's going to cost an extra $10,000 for this special type of flooring that I want to get in my dream house. Don't worry about the flooring in your dream house. Worry about the money to afford just the dream house first. Then you can worry about upgrading your flooring. That's not the important part. The important part is generating the income and getting the ball going and getting the momentum moving forward to get to that income goal. Then you could start worrying about the other little things, what color the car is you're going to buy and all that other stuff. Don't get hung up on that now. Get hung up on getting the leads and getting those turned into appointments and getting those turned into contracts and get those turned into closings. And then once you've had enough closings, now you can start worrying about, what color car it is do I want to have? Worry about the first world problems last. Worry about, getting food on the table and getting enough money coming in so you can afford those goals first. So preceding the contract, if we want to be able to have a contract, then you could even further dissect this down depending on the way it is that you work your business. Maybe you have some other step it is, and you don't have to follow this format exactly, but this is usually the overall flow. I wouldn't remove any of these steps here, but you could definitely add some steps into it if your business works slightly different. Maybe you're dealing in commercial real estate and there's a few more steps involved in the sale, or business brokerage. Again, there may be a few more steps involved in the sale. But overall, and this applies pretty much with any real estate, this is a people business, So you're not going to get a property under contract just by talking to people over the phone. You usually have to meet with a seller, get them to sign a listing agreement, meet with a buyer, show them homes. So you have appointments. And now, again, this is where you got to keep track of your business and what's going on in your business. How many appointments is it till we get a contract? Do that math. Okay, I went on 10 appointments and I've got 2 contracts. So now how do we do that math? Okay, so we take the 2 contracts, we divide that by 10, and we get 20%. So what that means is 20% of our appointments turn into contracts. And again, your business may be different. Maybe you go on 5 appointments and get 5 contracts. That's a little bit more unlikely than the percentage we had here. But again, whatever goes on in your business, keep tabs on it, keep a pulse on it, and then update your plan weekly. And you should be reviewing these numbers daily, especially when we get down to these bottom numbers. Okay, I need to be doing this, 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 and this so I could get to that $150,000 goal. These are the things I have to do today. So again, now the question of what the percentage is, let's say 20%. We'll go with that 20% number. We went on 10 appointments. We got 2 contracts out of those 10 appointments, so we've got a 20% appointment to contract. Now, another thing that you might want to do when you're reviewing this daily, you should be saying, if this number went down, maybe it used to be 30% or 40% or even 50% for this number, you got to ask yourself the question of, what am I doing differently that's making me drop down to 20% of my appointments turning into contract? Why am I no longer 50% of my appointments turning into a contract? And that's the part of being your own boss that most people don't like to do. People don't like it when they're managed, when they have a boss, but when they're their own boss, they even more don't like to manage themselves. But that's what you're doing here. What can I do differently? Don't blame it on the clients. Don't blame it on your broker. Don't blame it on any external factors. You're the only one that could take ownership of that, and you're the only one that could really make a change. You're 100% in control of what you can do. You're almost 0% in control of what anyone else can do. So by blaming this on others, you're just making complaints and just blowing off steam, but that doesn't accomplish anything. You've got to ask yourself the question, what can I do differently to get this up? Maybe do more of a pre-qualification with your buyers if you're doing this, or maybe this is for sellers on listing appointments. You're saying, well, God, I got to really fix my pitch because I'm only getting 2 out of 10 people. 1 out of 5 people are signing with me after this, so maybe I've got to increase my pitch. Maybe I've got to work on this. Maybe I've got to practice this. And that's what's also great about this business plan. When you're reviewing this constantly, you're able to kind of pick up on these things to see, okay, yeah, look at that, my appointments are going up. Oh, whoa, what happened? What am I doing differently that caused my appointments to drop down like that? So this allows you to monitor these things. Maybe you want to map this out in a spreadsheet or keep tabs on it in a notebook, however it is that you do it, but keep track of what these percentages are. So when they start to go up or down, now hopefully going up, you should still ask the question, what am I doing that's causing more of these appointments to turn into a contract? What particular things can I replicate to scale my business out further? When you're keeping track of these things, you're able to be a more effective real estate professional. You're able to help your clients find a house quicker. You're able to help your sellers get their house sold quicker when you're increasing these numbers. But now we also need to look at, okay, we can't just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to go on an appointment today and get a contract and get a closing. What do we have to have preceding that appointment? Well, in order to get an appointment, and so in order to get an appointment, you have to have a client. So now we ask ourselves the question, okay, what percentage of our clients turn into appointments? And we're going to cover that as well as the remaining steps that we have to do after a quick commercial break. So stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. I'm John Chrismo, and the show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. And what we do every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time, it's called Ask the Instructor, and we go over these more technical, more nitty-gritty stuff that you need to know to be successful in real estate. And what we're talking about today is something very important, the business plan. And if you missed the beginning part of this episode, if you're just tuning in now, go back after the show and rewatch this. We're going to actually have this posted in full on our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success. And we're actually going to include this business plan calculator form right underneath the video. So if you go to tampaschool.com/success, don't go there yet because it's not up on there yet. But right after this show, we're going to have that up with the business plan calculator, so you could actually practice working with these numbers and get an understanding of what you need to be doing today to get whatever income goal it is that you set in the calculator. So we made that just because this can be complex when you're first starting to understand this, and it's easy to leave out some of these steps in here. It's okay to add stuff, but you never want to leave out these steps. So before we went on break, we're talking about, okay, in order to get our income goal, we have to have 20 closings, and if we're figuring 80% of our contracts are going to turn into closings, that means that we need 25% of our 25 contracts at 80% is going to turn into 20 closings. But let's say only 20% of our appointments turn into a contract. So if that's the case, then we need to go ahead and now reverse engineer this. How many appointments do we have to get these 25 contracts? And now, this might sound like a lot. How can you get 25 contracts? But if we're talking about over the course of a year, that's just a little over 2 a month. So completely doable, especially when you're really got your head down, you're working your plan, you know what you have to do. You don't achieve anything when you're thinking about what you have to do. So this is an important step, but what's more important is that you're doing these actions that we're leading up to here. So in order to get those 25 contracts, if we take 25, divide that by 20%, we end up with 125. So we need 125 appointments. If we get 125 appointments, that'll give us our 25 contracts if 20% of our appointments turn into a contract. But now we need to go one step further because, again, in order to get an appointment, you first have to have a client that's interested in having some sort of appointment. And let's say about 90%. Again, you want to keep tabs on your business, what's going on, so you know what these numbers are, that these different percentages are, you know what the 20% is, you know what the 90% is, because that's going to vary based on your level of skill, based on the clients that you're working with, based on the market it is that you're in. So you've got to keep tabs yourself, and that's why you want to update this weekly if these numbers change, so that way you get an accurate estimate of how many appointments exactly you need to do to get to that income goal. And again, you're constantly revisiting this. You want to revisit this every day, especially these final things leading up to this. Okay, let's talk about now how many clients we need to have. Well, if 90% of our clients turn into an appointment, we're just taking that 125, dividing that by 90%, and we need, we'll say about 140 clients. It's 138.8 is our number, but we'll round that up to 140 clients. So over the course of the year, we need to have 140 clients, which some quick math, about 10 to 12 clients a month, probably about close to, about 12. 12 would be 144 clients. So we need about 12 clients we need to get a month. And again, you're doing the math on this 12 clients a month. That means that you need to get 3 clients a week if you're working every week out of the year. And if not, then you got to, again, adjust for that. And that's what that business plan calculator form allows you to do. But okay, so we've got 140 clients, but can we just wake up and say, I'm going to get a client today? You can, but now what is it that you're doing to get that client? And now this is where you're going to really branch off into multiple scenarios. Maybe you're doing some sort of online advertising. Maybe you're doing open houses. Maybe you're doing this. And that's where you need to understand further, okay, I need to hold this many houses to get this many clients. And if you're holding an open house every weekend, that's a good place to start. Something nice and simple. If you're holding an open house every weekend, and let's do that. Let's say, okay, we're going to only do open houses. That's the only thing we're going to do. It's nice and easy. Anyone could do an open house. There are some ways that are a little bit more effective that maybe isn't as fun to do. Maybe the door knocking, the cold calling, or spending money for online advertising and things like that. But let's just pick open houses to keep this simple. And you can do the same math for anything it is that you need to do. And so let's say, okay, out of the people that come into our open house, how many of them turn into a client? So how many people turn into a client? Well, let's say 50%. If we've got 50% of open house attendees, so if 50% of our open house attendees turn into a client, then how many people do we need to get walking through our open house that we're talking to in an open house to try to turn into a client? Well, that's going to be 280. So we need 280 people to attend open houses. And now maybe you ask yourself the question, okay, well, on average, let's say how many people do I get? If you need 280 people walking into an open house to get 50% of them to turn into 140 clients and 90% of those to turn into 125 appointments and 20% of those to turn into 25 contracts, then 80% of those to turn into 20 closings. One final question, how many open houses do we need to do? Meaning, how many people do you get at a typical open house? Let's say we get 10 people at an open house. On average, let's say we've got 10 people coming into our open house. Well, if 10 people come to our open house, that means we need to hold 28 open houses. And then what does that mean for us? Okay, there's 52 weeks in a year. 26 is every other week, so we'll have to do a couple weekends back to back. But other than that, we should plan for about doing an open house every other weekend at the very least. If we do an open house every other weekend, and again, you've got to keep track of all these numbers here of what your conversion rates are, how many people you have coming to your open house. But let's say we hold 28 open houses. We get 10 people at each one of those open houses on average. That gives us 280 open house attendees, 280 people that came into our open house. And if 50% of those turn into clients, we get 140 clients. And if 90% of those 140 clients turn into appointments, we end up with 125 appointments. If 20% of those appointments turn into contracts, we end up with 25 contracts. And if 80% of those contracts close, that means we get 20 closings. And if we've got 20 closings and the average home price we had was $300,000 at 3% commission with a broker taking 10%, that's where we hit our $150,000 income goal. And so this is what you've got to break it down to, because now you've got something you could go off of here. We could have also done this. Let's do this real quick. Let's do this based off of cold calling. Or door knocking, either one. Let's do door knocking, because that's probably going to be a little bit better results that you'll get off of something like that. So if we need 140 clients, what's the first thing? Okay, out of the people that we talk to, how many of them are going to be a client? So how many are going to be a client? Let's say that 25% of the people that we talk to are going to turn into a client. So 25% of the people that we talk to turn into a client. If that's the case, we're going to need to talk to 560 people. We need to talk to 560 people over the course of the year if 25% of them turn into clients and 90% and so on and so forth. And you see how you could change this. And you could diversify your activities that you're doing. Maybe you are doing an open house, but you're not doing it every weekend or every other weekend. You're maybe just doing it once a month. So you still have some extra opportunity to pick up. So that's why you're doing the 560 people that they're going to be door knocking on, or whatever that numbers may be. So that's the people we need to talk to, but is every person going to open their door? No. Let's say that on average we've got, let's say 40% of doors opened. If only 40% of the time we actually get somebody opening the door, we're going to take that 560 divided by 0.4, and that gives us 1,400 doors. So if we knock on 1,400 doors, 40% of them are going to open up. We'll talk to 560 people, and if 25% of them turn into clients, we'll end up with 140 clients, which again leads us to our $150,000 income goal. And we could break this down again further. Okay, if we're going to be knocking on 1,400 doors, how often are we going to do door knocking? If we're going to do it once a week, we could just take 1,400 divided by 52. That means we've got to knock on just 27 doors if we round up. 27 doors times 52 weeks gives us 1,400 doors. How long is it going to take you to knock on 27 doors? And remember that only 40% of them are going to answer. So on our daily, if we're doing this once a week, knocking on 27 doors. And again, your numbers may be different on this, and that's why you've got to keep into account these percentages that you've got there and keep tabs on those. Maybe you have less people opening the door, and then maybe you're saying, well, why do I have less people knocking on the door that are opening the door? Maybe it's the time of day that I'm knocking. Maybe it's because I look like a bum when I'm knocking on the door. Again, you're answering these questions to help lead you to the answer to these. So let's say, again, if we're doing this once a week, that's 27 doors we need to knock on once a week. And so what that means, out of these 27 doors, if we multiply that by 40%, that means we're only going to talk to about 11 people, 10.8 people. We're going to talk to 11 people. If you could talk to 11 people a week door knocking, and 25% of them turn into clients and blah, 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 all the way like we've been going through to the end, that will lead you to your income goal. But again, you factor in whatever it is that you're doing and now figure out, okay, I need to knock on this many doors this week. And really the better number would be, like, let's say you're working 5 days a week. You take that 27, you divide it by 5 if you're going to be knocking on doors every day of the week. And that's just about 6 doors, 5.4 doors. So if you knock on 6 doors a day, 5 days a week, 6 doors. And out of those 6 doors, only 40%. So what, 2 or 3 people are going to answer the door? If you talk to 2 or 3 people, and it's really the repetition. When I break this down like this, you might say, John, why shouldn't I just go out and knock on 100 doors? Yes, if you can maintain that. Because if you knock on 100 doors once, that's not going to add up to 1,400. If you knock on 100 doors twice, that's not going to add up to 1,400. You've got to knock on 100 doors 14 times, which might not sound like a lot, but if you're biting off more than you could chew, if you're not taking those small baby steps, that's where you'll be less likely to hit this goal of how many doors it is that you need to knock on. And the key thing is you're updating this weekly, because you might find out that these numbers are different. Maybe you've got to perfect your pitch because maybe you're only getting 10% of the people that you talk to that are turning into a client. So this is all the stuff you need to keep track on, but really the key information, the key number it is that you're looking for, that you need to be reviewing every day, is what these activities are. How many open houses you need to have this week, how many doors you need to knock on, how many calls you need to make, how many leads it is that you need to call, or whatever that may be, whatever these numbers are. Again, this branches off into a lot of different scenarios and really understand, okay, today, this is what I need to be doing. So like I said, we're going to have that on our Success Center. Check in about 5 minutes. We'll have that calculator there right on the post along with this video. So if you go to tampaschool.com/success, that's tampaschool.com/success. This should show up right up at the top if you're tuning into this live here. If you're watching the recording of this, just search for business plan and you'll be able to find this video as well as our business plan calculator on our Success Center. Again, that link is tampaschool.com/success. Go in there, work these numbers, get to understand what it is that you have to be doing every single day in order to meet your income goal. Because it's great to have the goal. It's great to know how many closings it is that you have. The trick, and where most agents don't know, is, okay, all these steps leading up to what activities it is that I have to do today or this week or this month that will lead to that income goal. And then again, you're constantly updating this and tweaking it and correcting it based on what the current statistics of your business are. You keep track on this, keep a pulse on your business, and you'll be able to really, like I said, quickly get to that income goal. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I know you've got some stuff that you can take out there and implement. This planning aspect is important. Again, I'm not a big planner. This business plan isn't meant to show off, to impress other people. It's meant to keep you on track. It's a more detailed version of your goals, of like writing your goals every day, which is great to do, but it's one thing to write the goals and understand the goals that you have to do every single day. It's a completely different thing to understand what do you have to do specifically. And you shouldn't be thinking every day of what you have to do. You should already have that figured out. That's what a good business plan is telling you. You have to do this today. You have to knock on 27 doors this week, or whatever that may be, to be able to achieve the income goal. That's what you need to be focusing on, what activities it is and what actions it is that you need to take today. How many open houses, how many doors, how many cold calls, or whatever one it is. You don't have to do all of these. It's better that you specialize in one. If you only want to do door knocking, then rely on door knocking and get great at door knocking and perfect your door knocking. You could use multiple streams and multiple flows to get to that income goal, but start off with one and make that one perfect. And then you can go ahead and push yourself forward. But that's all I've got for you guys this week. Make sure you check out the calculator at tampaschool.com/success. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your real estate career, just have any questions about real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that they can. You can also check us out online at tampaschool.com. Go to tampaschool.com/success for our Success Center, where you'll find this video as well as all of our State of Real Estate episodes, all these calculators and articles, and so many tools to help make you successful in the real estate industry, because we want you to be successful and we want you to be able to tell your friends, yeah, I got my start at the Tampa School of Real Estate, or Tampa School of Real Estate helped me at some point along the way. That's who we want to be in your life and in your business. So check us out at tampaschool.com, again, /success. Thank you guys for tuning in today, and I will see you Friday for State of Real Estate.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Does your current career allow for unlimited income potential? With a career in real estate, the sky is the limit. What you put in is what you get out. Find out more about how you can tap into the unlimited income potential of a career in real estate at tampaschool.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.